Hey, welcome to the poor man's way of backing up Office 365 files. Microsoft just announced that they have a utility that they're going to make available that you can back up your Office 365 content. And this is fantastic because you can do point in time restores, or select different versions of files to restore, et cetera, et cetera. It's been a long time coming. Third parties were doing this beforehand, so I guess Microsoft wanted a piece of that action. And it'll cost you. I don't know exactly how much the pricing is, but I'll put a link in the description to their site that discusses their utility. What I'm showing here is a simple way to copy files from each of these locations, like a SharePoint site, a Microsoft Teams, or OneDrive, on a regular basis, and copy those files to a location of your choice, not just a Microsoft cloud-based backup, which is what would happen with their utility. So let me show you the architecture I'm working with here. On the left is the Office 365 areas that I want to back up: SharePoint, Teams, OneDrive. I'm going to go to each of these areas and show you what you need to do to establish the connectivity between your desktop and these libraries, so you can use a utility on this desktop called Robocopy to facilitate the copying from destination, or the source to the destination. Now, this Robocopy it's an old school command line utility that's rock solid. I believe it comes pre-installed on Windows. If not, it's a free download. I'll put a link to that in the description as well. The command lines that I'm using, there's a few command lines, so I'm putting it in a batch file, and then I schedule that through the Windows Task Scheduler. So everything thus far here is free, except Google Drive. So the storage there is so cheap that it's like, you know what, I'm going to back up to my desktop first, and then I'm going to shuffle it off to Google Drive. So I have it in two different locations, two different ways of storing it. So redundancy is good in a backup routine. So let's establish connectivity to SharePoint, Teams, and OneDrive. I'll bring up SharePoint first. Here's the SharePoint document library that I'm interested in. I have it opened up in my web browser. I'm going to hit the sync button on the toolbar up on top, and what that's going to do is it's going to make this available in my Windows Explorer. So over on the left here, you see my SharePoint environment. These are all the libraries that I chose to synchronize. This is the one I just did. And you can see that it's mapping properly because the content over here in Windows Explorer is the same that you see here in my browser. Now I'm going to do the same with Microsoft Teams. So let me bring up Teams like I did with SharePoint here. This is the Microsoft Teams content that I want to back up. This is a channel in a Teams site I have, and it's built on top of SharePoint, so it has the same functionality. So there's our sync button. Here's all the files and folders I want to back up on a regular basis from Teams and Office 365 down to my local machine. So I'm going to hit the sync button there as well. And if you look at the Windows Explorer, this was the Teams channel that I had. The channel is called General, and here's the content. Same that it is on the right here. So this is Microsoft Teams on the right, and here is my Windows Explorer on the left. So we have two of the three things we're interested in mapped. Let's go to OneDrive, which I already have mapped, so I don't have to do this synchronization thing with it. Although I can back up everything under this OneDrive, like I'm going to do with SharePoint and Teams, which is up here. Everything under there I'm going to back up, but for OneDrive I'm only interested in this one folder here. So as long as I have this path that you can see up here in the address bar, I can back that up individually as well. So let's bring up the script and I'll show you how I'm running the command lines to do this backup. Okay, so here's the script for Robocopy. You're basically executing Robocopy, and you're passing just two parameters, the source and the destination. So if I look at the first one I'm going to do, you can see the source path here is my path to, let me bring this back up, to my SharePoint environment. So I'm going from everything under the SharePoint environment to a folder called O365. You see that in the background here. There's nothing there right now because I haven't run this script. Secondly, we're going to do the same thing with the OneDrive location, but we're going to specify that subfolder, and we're going to put it in our local backup folder called whiteboards. Lastly, we are going to copy everything now that we put in this folder on the local drive, and we're going to shuffle it off to Google Drive. Now, with Google Drive, you can see that on the left here, I have a Google Drive mapped as a G drive. You need to install Google Desktop on your machine. It's a free download. It's really simple, but this is something that's going to run in the background. So if I open it up here, I have a folder called O365 Backups. There's nothing in that yet. Technically what it's doing is it's going to copy files here. This map drive, this Google Drive, is actually on your desktop. So it's going to copy these files on your desktop, and then in the background it's going to synchronize those and push it up to the internet. So let's run that script. I'm going to run this batch file, and it's going to do all this stuff, and you should see everything populated in the background. So I have a batch file on my desktop. I'm going to launch that right now. This is what it looks like. You can see it populating in the back already. It's only going to do new files or files that have been modified if they already exist in the destination. So that's what it's doing right now. It's doing a bit-by-bit comparison. It's fantastic. Now, subsequent execution of this backup routine will probably go less than a second unless there's new files or modified files. So it's only going to work when it needs to work. And that's it. The script is done running. Here's my local drive. Here's all of the content. There's my whiteboards. Everything that I wanted backed up is in a local drive now. Also in Google Drive, there they are. So both I'm copying stuff to the cloud and my local drive, and that's it. That's how fast it runs. Again, this is what we did. We went from Office 365 over here to this environment here. We went to the desktop, and after we were done, we went to Google Drive. I could have gone directly from here to Google Drive, knowing that it's also copying that to the local drive technically, and just cut this piece out. But I just wanted that redundancy, and there's no harm in that. So real quick, some key takeaways. Microsoft, like I said, they said they're responsible for the tenant. You're responsible for your own data, as it should be. Whether you're in a different cloud environment or running locally, you should always back up this content. Never assume because it's in more than one place that the availability may be there, but something nefarious could happen to those files, like ransomware. Again, Microsoft just released their backup utility for Office 365. I would check that out. That may be worth implementing in your environment just to have yet another layer of security with your content. With the method I just showed you, your file availability is up. Even if your internet is down for whatever reason, you have access to your content. You can go about your business. However, there's no point in time recovery of those files. We're just grabbing the latest version and copying it down. It's just that simple. Lastly, I would consider using a read-only account on that desktop that is running that utility, the Robocopy utility, because when you set up that synchronization to your Windows Explorer, anything you do to those files through Windows Explorer will propagate up to Office 365. So you only want it to be read-only access in case that desktop that's running these things is compromised, God forbid. One last thing I wanted to show is the Microsoft Windows Task Scheduler. So right here, I set up a simple task to do this backup on a regular basis. I just said run it every day. If I go into the edit portion here under actions, you'll see that I'm referencing that batch file to do the backup. That batch file, again, has the Robocopy script to do this backup. And I'm just running this every day through this simple scheduler that Microsoft provides for free. Okay, that's all I got. Here's my contact info if you have any questions. Bye.